Hi, everyone. Today I'm going to be walking you through your Shakespearean Theater Day number 3 assignment. So let's go ahead and get started. We've been learning about Shakespeare, um, a little bit about who he is. Yesterday we learned a little bit about language, and today we're going to continue on our journey of understanding how Shakespeare used language in his plays and why they're so important to us and um, how they continue to influence us today. So you're going to see that our TEKs are still our theater history TEKs, which is demonstrating the role of theater as a reflection of history, society, and culture through participation in dramatic activities, and exploring the influences of theater, film, television, and electronic media, such as key developments, figures, and works in society. And so we're going to start out the way that we always do by filling in our last name and first name, as well as our theater class period. Once you get off the beginning page, you're going to see we have our warm-up video as well as our stretches that we do every day. If you cannot do the ones that we do in our live sessions, I recommend that you still do a little bit of movement at your seat, a little bit of stretches such as rolling your head, rolling your shoulders, lifting and releasing your shoulders, arm circles, other kinds of stretches. Ooh, it's just good to get the body moving. You'll finish up with a facial stretch and tongue twisters. So I recommend 3 to 5 deep breaths in through the nose, out through the mouth. A jaw massage, as well as big face and little face. And then you'll pick some tongue twisters to say, such as toy boat, toy boat, toy boat, red leather, yellow leather, red leather, yellow leather, red leather, yellow leather, and rubber baby buggy bumpers, rubber baby buggy bumpers, rubber baby buggy bumpers. Click next. When you move on to our daily activity page, you're going to see that today we are going to be learning about the different acting and performance conventions of Shakespeare's time. And we're going to learn a little bit more about Shakespeare's theater, the Globe. And so we're going to watch a short performance from Shakespeare's Hamlet. You'll answer the reflection questions about what did each actor do. This speech is the very famous to be or not to be speech. You heard a little bit about that in our video that we watched on the first day. They did mention this as a very famous line that gets done and redone quite a bit. And so you're going to answer your 2 reflection questions, which are what did each actor do in the video? And then do you think that there are different ways that you can perform Shakespeare? Is there only one perfect way, or can you take the role and make it your own? What do you think based on your own opinions and what you saw in the video? So today we're going to be learning about Shakespeare's Shakespearean theater conventions and Shakespeare's theater, which was named the Globe. So what is a convention? So a convention is basically a willingness to believe that something on stage is real for the length of the performance. A convention is almost like kind of like a rule that you would follow. If you're following the convention of something, you're following tradition, you're following what is always done. So like, for example, most plays, unless you have the character directly talking to the audience, most plays operate under the convention of the fourth wall, meaning the characters on stage don't know that you're watching them. The actor knows, but like the characters are just living their lives. It's kind of like on TV, how the actors on because it's a recording, the actors cannot talk back to you. It's because there's a barrier, right? There's a separation between you, the viewer, and the performance that's happening on stage. And so we call this like imaginary divide, the fourth wall. And that is a convention of theater, is that we utilize that fourth wall. Unless that show specifically is choosing to break the fourth wall and talk to the audience, usually there is that separation between the performers and the people watching. And so there are some conventions that Shakespearean theater followed that we're going to learn about today. And so you're going to write down your answer. What is a theatrical convention? And then how did these conventions affect Shakespeare's writing? So the conventions, so the way that they chose to perform, the rules or the traditions that they chose to follow, controlled the way that he used his dialogue. As a result of these conventions, his dialogue, his words were very descriptive. And so here's why that was. Here's why he had to be so descriptive. So basically, some of the rules or practices, the conventions that they would follow, was there was no electricity on stage, there were no women on stage, and costumes were very minimal and they were contemporary, meaning they were of the style that was popular at the time. So, like, for example, every time period has a certain style of clothing that they wear. And so Shakespeare's costumes were similar to what people would wear in fashion at the time. And so there was also minimal scenery. So since there wasn't a whole lot happening on stage for the audiences to look at, his plays were very descriptive and the language was very beautiful because that was what really the audience was hearing. So if a character was in the forest, you probably will hear at some point the character will describe the trees, the beautiful flowers, the outside surroundings. Same thing if they were on a beach or in somewhere that was cold, you would hear the character talk about it. And so that's part of the reason why his language was so descriptive, was because they were missing these things. They couldn't do any special effects with lights. They couldn't really use the full range of performance that they could because they weren't allowing women on stage. They couldn't show as much with costumes or with this background scenery. So that description, him being able to describe everything and explain to the audience using the actors what was going on, that was the way that people really understood his plays. And so you're going to check off the conventions off of this list. Which of the conventions from here do you see in the question? And then we're going to talk a little bit about the Globe Theater. So the Globe Theater was originally built in 1599, and it originally held up to 3,000 people. The Globe Theater is a thrust theater. So you can see here on the stage, we have these side areas. And even though the picture doesn't show, since it's a rectangle, we know there's another side kind of like over here. And so that's three sides of the stage. 1, 2, 3, thrust. This Globe Theater was located in Southwark near the Thames River, which was outside of London. And so remember, theater at this time was not really looked at as something that was good. It was kind of looked down upon and people were discouraged. People still did it, obviously. But, the church really frowned upon theater at the time, which is why they couldn't place the theater in London proper. They had to go somewhere outside. And so you'll answer your reflection questions. What kind of stage did the Globe have? How many sides could the audience sit on? And then we're going to talk a little bit about the social structure within the Globe Theater. So there were basically 3 levels that you could watch from. If you were lower class or more poor, the area of seating that you would have, you really wouldn't get a seat. You would have to stand here on the ground, on the floor of the theater. You would pay 1 penny and you would be able to come in. Back then, 1 penny was kind of a lot. Or not a lot, but it's more than what you're thinking right now, but still relatively cheap. And so, They'd pay 1 penny to stand here and watch the performance. It was standing room only. It was uncovered. As you can see, there was no ceiling to the theater. So if there was any kind of rain or any sort of weather, all these people down here would definitely feel it. Because you couldn't bring any kind of like umbrella or covering, because then you would block the view of the people who were standing behind you. So you were probably going to get wet, and it was probably pretty crowded down there as well. Middle class people, or people who are of like the middle wealth category, like not super poor but not very wealthy either, they would sit in the tiers or galleries covered by the roof, and they would be protected by the weather. So if you had a little bit more money, if you could pay a little bit more for those seats, this is kind of like where the tiers would be, like these two right here, this first tier, maybe the second one. And then upper class, nobility, royalty, very rich people had a wider selection. They could sit pretty much anywhere they wanted. All of these top like balcony area was reserved for those wealthy people. It had the best view from the top. You could see every single thing that was going on stage. Sometimes they would even allow them to sit on the stage, maybe in the backstage areas, maybe here on the sides. This picture isn't the best. Sorry about that. But those are kind of our 3 tiers. Lower class or upper class would be at the highest levels and on the stage. Middle class would be in the lower tiers. And then groundlings, the lower class people, would be here on the bottom, standing room only. And so you'll answer your reflection questions about that. And then your last thing you're going to do today is you're going to watch a little video tour of the Globe Theater. So you're going to see what it actually looks like now in modern times. So you can click on the player to play it in a larger screen, or I recommend doing that since it is a tour. You want to see a bit better.
Make a different future. Start different at GoDaddy.com.
And so it's going to play the tour of the theater for you. It's a very cool video. And then you have one opinion reflection question. If you were watching a play in the Globe Theater, where would you want to sit? Which area, the ground, middle, or balcony area? And why would you choose that area? That's just your opinion. You can answer this question based on what you see here in the video, as well as what you know about the Globe's social structure. Once you're done, you'll answer your exit ticket, which is, what was the name of Shakespeare's theater and what kind of theater was it? Once you're done doing that, you'll click submit, and that's it. You're done for the day. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you enjoyed learning a little bit more about Shakespeare and his Globe Theater. Remember, if you have any questions, you can always reach out to me on Remind, Google Classroom comments, email, or by popping in on our live sessions during the day. All right, well, that's it for today, everyone. Remember, today is a great day. You are in control of you, and every day is a great day to try your best. I'll see you all in the next video. Bye.